Good morning, everybody. Please come to lying on your back. With your knees bent and your feet on the floor. Taking a few moments simply to settle into the back of your body. Hi, Mary. In this class today, I'd like to invite you to not rush into any movements or any postures, but to spend some time in stillness, imagining a movement I'm going to suggest before you actually move into it, imagining the energy that is required, the minimum effort that is required to be able to move your body. And then after you've spent a few moments imagining, you can begin to actually move your body. It's just quite an interesting exercise and tunes into the fact that it is actually our imagination of using our muscles, of moving our bones, that can begin to send nerve impulses, send intention to our body, even though we don't actually move anything, and it can have a similar effect to the movement itself. It's fantastic for anyone who is in a position of not being able to move for whatever reason. If you've had a really bad injury, or even worse, and you're just immobile, it is a very profound practice to imagine moving. So with all of that said, please take your time to really, really feel your body this morning. Do a little bit of a weather check, just to check in with what's here. How do you feel around your eyes? And inside your mouth? Is your lower jaw clenched up against your upper jaw? Or could you introduce a bit of softness here? And without being intense in any way, just allowing your attention to drift down the body with a gentle scan of your own to observe where you're holding tension. Where you might be holding on for something that you don't need to be holding on for. Noticing these points of contact between the back of your body and the floor. Without trying to change anything, being aware of the gentle pulse of your natural breath. How do you feel the breath in the body today? Can you feel the light caress of air on your skin this morning? A sense of the quality of the day that you're part of, or maybe it's an evening for you right now. And then allowing your attention to drop down into the space of your heart, so behind the breastbone, right in the cavity of your chest. Simply noticing what's here now, what sensations, what feelings, maybe emotions. And from here, listening to what you might really need for this practice, for today, maybe for the whole week ahead. What might you set as a one-word intention for now? And from here, you could either keep your knees bent or you could slide your legs long. And I'd like you to drop your attention into your head, so you really feel your head. Remembering what I said right at the beginning, every time I invite you into a gentle movement, you're not going to rush into that movement, but you're going to first imagine it. And imagine the energy required, the air required. So I'd like you to imagine for a few moments rolling your head very slowly from one side back to the center, to the other side, a few times. And I'll leave you to decide when you've imagined enough, so that you can then begin to roll your head. Really, really sensitive to sensation. And continuing to breathe freely. And there really is absolutely no hurry here. In fact, the more slowly you inquire into this very simple movement, the more beneficial it will be for your mind, body, nervous system, and for the relationship between all of those. And at some point, allowing yourself to rest in stillness again. I'd like you to bring your attention, please, to your left arm. Your left arm. Really feeling the left arm completely. And imagining floating the left arm up into the air and then over your head to the floor behind you at any angle that your shoulder allows. And to imagine this fully. And when you're ready, you can begin to float the left arm up. Be really slow as you sense the whole arm from the fingertips to the shoulder. Feel it resting onto the floor and begin to bring it back again. And I'd like to leave you a few moments with this movement because actually you could explore the space over and around you with the arm. You don't need to keep the movement in one plane. Might want to roll your wrists, roll the shoulder. It's almost as if this kind of practice is almost as if you've only just discovered that you have a body. Or maybe you've awoken from a deep slumber to rediscover your skin, your muscles, your skeleton, your tendons, and everything else that you require in your body to move it and to feel it. Breathing freely. Really feel free to move the arm around. It might have come across your body. You might have bent an elbow or straightened it. Fully alert to all sensation. And eventually your left arm will settle down by your side again. As you move your attention to your right arm, maybe noticing the difference between them, imagining the movement in the right arm, and when you're ready, taking any movements that feel delicious, exploratory, appropriate with the right arm. Moving it in any way that feels right to you. It's a sense of rediscovery of yourself with a real sense of innocence as well. Continuing for a little while. Breathing freely. until eventually your right arm can settle down by your sides. Just take a moment to feel both arms, feel the whole body. And then please bring both feet to standing on the floor. And we're going to, remember, you're going to imagine first, you're going to imagine floating both arms up, but we're going to add something here, simultaneously to moving the arms up into the air and over your head. You're going to gently lift your bottom and hips and pelvis and as many vertebrae as you feel like. So you come into a very gentle back bend. And then as your arms float back down by your sides, you allow your spine and the back of your pelvis to re-encounter the floor. They're much more complicated. Take a while to imagine what you need to articulate to bring all of this together. And then when you're ready, you can do it, taking as many breaths as you need to float your arms, to lift yourself up. And then to come all the way back again. And there's obviously more strength involved here. It's a mixture of strength and a quality of floating and subtle sensing. And you do not need to lift up high. You might make a tiny lift. With this kind of body sensing movement that we're doing, you might come to a feeling that you're actually creating the space around you with the movement of your body. The relationship between your body and the space around you is a mutual one. You can ask yourself a very interesting question throughout, not only a yoga practice, but at any time of day or night. Which is at what point does my body end? And at what point does the space around me begin? Breathing freely. Next time you come down, maybe doing just one more round. When you've finished your final round, take a moment to simply feel the surface beneath you. Notice the quality of your breath. When you're ready, floating your knees into your chest, you can hold them with your hands. Beginning to circle the knees in opposite directions. Very gently, very open to subtle sensations. And then please circle your knees in the opposite direction. Until you're ready to roll gently to one side. Actually, I'm really sorry. I'd like you to stay on your back. Just like you to come onto your back with both knees bent, feet on the floor. I'd like you to really feel into your right leg. I'm going to feel into the right leg. You're going to imagine lifting the foot off the floor so that the knee gently comes in towards your chest. Then you're going to imagine slowly lengthening out the leg with the foot towards the ceiling. And just like the movement with the arms, this movement with the legs doesn't have to be straight and uniform in one direction. You could open the knee out, the hip out. So when you're ready, following that imagining with the movement. And when you're straight enough, you might, or a little bit straight, you might want to circle a little in the ankle. You might want to twiddle the toes. These movements are intuitive and they're individual. I'm only here to give you a sense of how you might want to start. Breathing freely. Real sense of creating the space around and above you with the movement of this right leg, hip. And continuing as slowly or more quickly if you want to. Completely absorbed in sensations in the hip and any other part of the body that is calling to you. So what we're doing now, you could say, is a way of waking up the hamstrings, but it is so much more subtle than coming into this, a simple hamstring stretch. So much more going on. Okay, I'm really enjoying this movement, but I know we need to move the other leg. So at some point, allowing the right leg to settle down, the foot on the floor. And really take time to feel the difference between the right leg and the left leg. And you'll come to imagining the movement in the left leg. And then when you're ready, you begin on the left side. That same subtlety, that same sense of exploration and inquiry. There's nothing to actually arrive towards. It's all in the process. Do you remember you can move your body, your leg right across the body, right away from the body? Doesn't need to be straight up all the time. You can circle a little in the hip. Breathing freely. Until eventually your left foot finds the floor. There's no hurry. And if at home you're doing the recording of this, and you just really love a part of it, you could pause the recording and take longer on a particular part of the body. You can allow your knees to float in towards your chest again. And just have a little rock from side to side. Maybe a little circle of your knees, but now both in the same direction. And then take both knees in the other direction. And now we are going to roll up to a sitting position. So do come your own way. If you need to roll over to one side, do. We might like to roll from head to tail. And coming to a seat of your choice. It could be cross-legged, but it might not be. And taking a moment to really feel the ground beneath you. So we're in a different sense of the space around us, of the support beneath us. And having a sense of the relationship between the very base of your body and the way the spine lifts up and comes all the way up through the torso until your attention is at the top of your head. So you have this sense of top of your head and the base of your body. I'd like you to really soften your shoulders, your wrists, and have a sense that your skin and your muscles are held over the frame of your skeleton as if your skeleton was a coat hanger. So you're gently hanging on your bones. And shortly, we're going to begin to spill the pelvis forwards and then rock it back again. So just like with everything else today, you can imagine this movement before you actually bring it into action. But when you're ready, you begin to allow this gentle spilling forwards and rolling back. And remember all the tissues, the soft tissues of your body are just simply hanging on the bones. So as you move the pelvis very gently, just notice how your shoulders and spine join in. And you know, at some stage you might want to lift your arms off your legs and just allow them to come with you in any way that feels right. There's nowhere to go with this other than to sense into the feelings. And you could do this with your legs extended if cross-legged doesn't feel right. You can have your arms as high or as low as you want them to be. And you can add any other little movements that feel good this morning or any time of day. Remember, it's intuitive. This kind of approach to sensing the body is obviously, I'm sure it's part of many traditions, but I was taught it by two teachers in the iRest Yoga Nidra tradition, so James Reeves and Richard Miller. After having done a lot of very strong yoga, and it just completely sort of revolutionized the way in which I was experiencing my body in movement and in posture. So I like to bring it into the teaching every now and again. And a real sense of spilling the pelvis, and then just noticing how the rest of the body responds. And then as you come to stillness, just coming back to a sense of your skeleton, your soft tissues, and the quality of your breath. And then from here, I'd like to take so much longer on everything that we're doing, but I'd like you to come to an all fours position. So we're back in familiar territory of cat-cow, but it can be so interesting to imagine the movement before you rush into it. So when you're ready, you're going to imagine spilling the pelvis towards the floor. Then you follow the imagination with the movement. So you're really dipping the spine, the chest might open. Then you're going to imagine spilling the pelvis back and the front of the body scooping into the back body, chin towards the chest maybe. Coming into this cat-cow movement as if you've never ever done it before. Breathing. And you can add a child's pose when you're ready. So you can scoop the front body into the back body and then begin to float your hips back towards your heels. And for a few moments, I'll leave you to move between a cat-cow and a child. Very subtle, very gentle. So there is absolutely nothing mechanical about this experience. From your child, you might like to add a gentle cobra where you come up to all fours, you slide your hands forwards, and you allow your thighs and pelvis to come all the way down. Forehead to the floor. And then it's only a very gentle peeling up of the chest. Your arms might lift. And coming all the way back down again. And then a gentle coming back to all fours and back to child. So there's a few things that have been added here. Cat, cow, child to cobra. So take your time to explore the succession. Very slinky. The next time you're on your belly, please stay on your belly. And bring your hands underneath your forehead and have a little rest, just feeling the whole of the front of the body against the floor, feeling the breath in the body. And just aware of how you're feeling right now. And you're going to slide both arms long, keeping your forehead on the floor. And I'd like you to feel, without moving, your left arm and your right leg. Your left arm and your right leg. You're going to imagine the movement of these limbs together, the energy that was required, the articulation and organization of your body that's required. And then when you're ready, allow the right leg and the left arm to float up. And your head can come with you. And then float down. And for a few rounds, simply explore this movement across this diagonal, left arm to right leg. And it's not about coming really high, but it is maybe about feeling the weight of the limbs suddenly and how lifting them brings certain activation into some of the muscles of the back. Remember, you can move around. And then settling all of the limbs onto the floor and resting as you bring your attention to your right arm and left leg, imagining the movement as they synchronize. And when you're ready, bringing them into movement. Breathing freely. Lovely. There's no hurry. And the next time your arm and leg have settled down onto the floor, take a moment to feel the whole of the front of the body again. And when you're ready, draw yourself back into child's pose, where your bottom floats back towards your heels. You could have your hands under your forehead or your arms extended. Just feel the softness here of the whole body resting. Your knees can be apart. And then please slide your hands forward so you come to an all fours position. And curl your toes under. And sit back towards your heels. So your head's off the floor, your hands are out in front of you. And I'd like you to imagine the movement. And there is quite a lot of effort involved here, but we're going to try and imagine it as effortless. You're going to imagine lifting your knees off the floor and allowing your bottom to move back in space as you gently unfold your legs. And then you're going to refold them and come all the way back down again. So moving in and out of a very soft downward dog. So you imagine, and then when you're ready, you float your body into that movement. And if as you do this, it just feels like too much for you today, too much effort, or you're injured, you could stay in child and simply imagine the movement without doing it. Breathing freely. And then one of these times, staying in a downward dog. Feeling your whole body alive with sensation. You're going to gently walk your hands and your feet towards each other. So you end up dangling. A soft bend in the knees. You're going to imagine yourself unrolling the spine to vertical, super slow. And once you're in vertical, you're going to roll back down again. So take your time. Slowly unfurling and then refurling. And there's no hurry. Feeling every millimeter of the movement, the sensation, not only in the spine, but in anywhere else that calls to you. And the next time you roll up, please stay up. And just have a sense of your verticality, the support down through your feet. And the whole of your skeleton as a coat hanger. And please step your feet about 1 meter apart. And we're going to imagine floating the left arm up. And once it's up, you're going to slide the right hand down the right leg. So you come into a gentle side bend. Just imagine this before you're ready to move, but then when you're ready, come into this gentle side bending movement. And taking this movement from side to side. And not taking it too deep, too far, but just feeling your way. And I'm going to add a few movements and poses into this standing sequence, but always with that quality of imagining and feeling your way rather than a sense of rigidity or achievement. So at some point, you might really just love this side bending, but at some point, you're going to take your left foot in a bit and your right foot out. You could even take your feet wider apart, and you're going to float into Warrior Two. But with a really floaty in and out sense, feeling the whole body. Move your shoulders, your arms, your wrists. Of course, if you could come into Warrior Two and you love it, you could stay. I'm not in a mood to take a strong pose today, but if you wanted to, you could. And from your Warrior Two, you're going to gently come up to a star. Toes are out, arms are up. And from your star, you can bend your knees. You're going to gently roll forwards into a standing forward fold. You could bring your toes in, your heels out. Have a little move around here. You might bend into one knee. You might bend into the other. Feeling your way. And at some point, beginning to roll yourself back up out of the forward fold, unfurling back into your star, so that your toes are out, your heels are in. And from your star, we're going to come into warrior two in the other direction. So the right foot turns in, the left foot turns out. You bend into that left knee, relax into the shoulders. And you move again in and out, your warrior two. Adding any additional movement that feels right to you. Breathing freely. Lovely. And then from this warrior two, very slowly bringing yourself back to your star. Feeling the whole of your skin, your fingertips, your toes. And then gently releasing your arms down and bringing your feet together. And you're going to start by feeling both feet on the floor, but you're going to imagine what is required to lift your right knee up towards you, knee bent, and then straighten the leg. And I'm going to take you into a little balancing sequence. So just imagine what's required before you float the right knee up. You straighten it a little. And then you might like to take your weight forwards with the upper body as your right leg swings behind you in a warrior three. You're going to move in between, bringing the knee forwards, the leg straightening, taking your arms wherever you want. And then coming back again, leg behind you. And it's absolutely fine to wobble, to come out, to bend that standing knee a little to help support you. Till eventually the right foot finds the floor again. You might want a little shake of the left ankle, I definitely do. And allowing yourself to feel the stability of both feet. So you know what's coming. You're going to imagine the movement before you do it. Really trusting the strength and support of the right leg. Before you begin to lift the left knee. Straighten the leg. Pivot to take it out behind you. And so on. Breathing freely. Really creating the space in front of you, behind you, beneath you, above you, with the movements of the body. Until you're ready to stand the left foot down. The right ankle a bit of a shake. And then take a moment feeling both feet. It's quite hard, isn't it, doing that? I was a bit shocked when I haven't done any balancing for a while, how difficult it is. More difficult from day to day, it's different. And from here, just beginning to roll yourself down, coming to the end of the sequence now, just transitioning down to the floor. From your forward fold, you can walk your hands forwards. To come into a gentle downward dog, you could take your feet behind you. Whenever you're ready, drop your knees. Come into a child's pose. Feeling everything settling now. Aware of the quality of your breath. You could stay here for longer. But when you're ready to, just to come to the end of the practice, you'll lie on your back. And take your arms out wide and your feet out wide, knees together. And just a very, very gentle rotation of the spine by allowing your knees to slide or flop to the left as your head rolls to the right. Obviously, all the same principles apply. If you've got more time than I've got right now, you could imagine all these movements and then bring them back in. Head to vertical and the knees to vertical until they roll to the right. Your head to the left. So this is really good if you have your feet as wide apart as possible. Gives you much more space in the pelvis. So my feet are as wide apart as my mat is wide. And you could take a long time in this gentle rinsing through the spine and of the pelvis. And then anything else you feel you'd like to do before resting into Shavasana. And if you did set yourself that simple intention for your practice, for your day, for your week, right at the beginning of the class, can you recall it now as you allow the whole body to settle into an ocean of sensation of which you're a part? Feel the day. And I've come to the end of the teaching time. But I hope you'll take a few moments to stay here to rest before you take any insights from this practice off the mat into the way you move your body today, the way you experience the day. Thank you so much for joining me.